Welcome back to the Institute for Business Growth and the Sales Accelerator Program. We're in Module 2, Lesson 2, and in this particular module, we're going to talk about why goals fail. There's a number of reasons why goals fail, and I'm not going to talk about all of them, but I am going to talk about the ones that I encounter pretty regularly. One of the reasons goals fail is people confuse motion with action. And let me give you an example. Many sales reps who come to me are very, very busy. And usually what I find out is they're calling on the wrong people. They may not have the right message. They may be positioning the product to the wrong market, wrong decision maker, a variety of different things. They're busy, but they're not productive. They're in motion, but they're not taking action. And many times it's all we do is we get clear on who the ideal customer is, who the ideal market is, who the decision maker is, the problem that we're solving. And we take that energy and we just channel it in a little different direction. And once that happens, it's amazing some of the results we get. All of that busyness seems to go away and it seems to change to productivity. Now, one of the big reasons goals fail is we give ourselves an excuse. That's why I like to use promises. As I mentioned in the earlier video, 77% of all promises fail and 97% of all promises are kept. So let me say that again. 77% of all goals fail. 97% of all promises are kept. And that comes from Bill Bartman. If you give yourself an excuse, you will fail. One of the promises you need to make to yourself is that if you set a goal, you're going to turn it into a promise, and no matter what happens, you're going to achieve it. You may fail the first time, you may fail the second time, but as we talked about in the past, decisions don't change, plans do. So if what you're doing to take you to your goal is not working, try something different. But the goals shouldn't change if it's that important. I really, really like what Yoda said to Luke Skywalker. If you're a Star Wars fan, do or do not, there is no try. That's the same level of accountability I hold my clients to, and it's the same level of accountability I hold myself to. I'm either going to do it or I'm not going to do it. There is no excuses. I'm going to make the decision and I'm going to commit either way. Let's talk about some of the other reasons goals fail. One is they're not yours. Many times we're given goals by our church, our family, our parents, our boss. Our boss says, hey, Ron, you got to sell $2 million this year. Okay, I'm not sure how I'm going to do that, but we'll give it a try. Not much of a commitment when it's given to you. Many times there's a value conflict. And what I mean by that is you might decide, for example, that you want to make $1 million and that's important to you. But if you make $1 million, you might find out that you're not worthy of it. And consequently, you'll just find a way to get rid of it. I had one client who had well over $1 million in the bank. And by the time it came to me, he was $60,000 in the hole. And what he said was, I wasn't worthy of it. I didn't deserve it. And he literally made some very, very bad decisions and lost it all in a matter of 10 years. A lot of reason goals do not work is they're not clear. I'll give you an example. I don't want to be poor was one of the examples we used. We switch that around. We can say, I want to be rich. If we don't define what rich means, we can never achieve it. So when I'm teaching this workshop, I'll ask people, do you want to be rich? And they raise their hand and I'll give them $10. You're richer now. Have you achieved your goal? No, you haven't. So what you have to do is define, what does rich mean? Does it mean an extra $500 a month, an extra $5,000 a month, or an extra $5 million? And then put the plan in place to achieve it. Another reason we fail is there is no feedback. We don't know if we're making progress or not. We work really hard. We go to bed tired. We get up early. Yet there's nothing in our lifestyle, nothing in our tracking, nothing in our processes that tells us if we're making progress. We can talk about being comfortable. Many, many times people don't even get started on their goals because they're comfortable. It's pretty hard to get out of a reclining chair when you've got a beer on your armrest and 327 channels to look at. You don't have to think very hard to know that you're comfortable. If you want to live a life like that, God bless you, but I don't think most people do. Sometimes we have way too many options. Have you ever bought a car and you just didn't know what you wanted, and you started looking around, and all of a sudden you saw dozens and dozens and dozens of cars that could potentially fit what you were looking for, and you just got paralyzed. You just didn't know what to do. That happened to me not too long ago. I was looking to get a dog, and my wife and I were talking about it, and we talked about all different breeds of dogs: Wheaten Terriers, Cairn Terriers, Golden Doodles, Labradoodles, the whole business, until we got to the point where, boy, there was just too many options. And over the course of, literally, it took us a year to sort through it, but when we finally sorted through it, we settled on a Golden Doodle. But there were just way too many options to start with, and not being clear on what we were looking for in a dog made it very hard to narrow our choices down. The other thing that is a big problem is we just don't know what we want. There is no conscious self-directed goals, and I talked about that briefly in the last module. If you don't know what you want, write down what you don't want. The opposite is what you do want. It's that simple. Now, you could add many, many things to the list, and I would hope that you do, because once you understand what's holding you back, that's the first step in addressing it. Just as a reminder, the download for this module was talked about in Lesson 1, where we talk about all the forums. We ask you to download it. If you haven't downloaded the worksheets for this, please do so you have it. When we talk about not being clear, I really want to spend a little bit of time on that, because probably that's one of the biggest issues that I see, is that people aren't clear. Again, I want to be rich. How much is rich? Do you just need an extra $5,000 to take your family to Disneyland or Disney World, for example? Do you need to put away $2,000 a month to put your kids in college? Are you saving for retirement and you haven't saved it all, so you have to be very aggressive about it? Many times people will say, I'm too busy, I need free time, I want time with my family. I had one client who came to me specifically for that reason. He was working 70 hours a week. He was closing about 50% of his opportunities, and he sold about 1.2 million. Now, those are all really good numbers. And I asked him, I said, what do you want out of our relationship? And he goes, I want more time. He goes, I want to work less and spend more time with my family. And I said, okay, do you want to do that by selling more at a lower margin, or would you rather sell less, spend less time chasing and sell at a higher margin? And he goes, well, I think a combination of both, but I think I'd rather go after higher margin business. Well, after 6 months, he sold 1.8 million and his close rate went up to 80%, and he was selling at a much higher margin. But he didn't spend any more time with his family. He experienced such success, he kept on working. So one of the things we had talked about was, Mike, you wanted more time with your family. You're not spending time with your family because you haven't incorporated it into your goal. So I asked him, I said, what would you do with the time with your family? Well, I would coach my baseball league, and I would take my boys hunting, and I would do this and I would do that. So once we got him really clear on what he was going to do with the free time, he was able to back off work a little bit and spend more time with his family. He coached the baseball team. He took his children hunting, spent more time with his wife. But we had to get clear on why it was important and what to do with that free time. Some people talk about they want financial freedom. And I ask them, what does financial freedom mean? And they can't define it. If you can't define financial freedom, how can you possibly achieve it? A lot of people who are in investment properties are looking for financial freedom. But what does that mean? Do I need 20 properties to be financially free? Do I need 100? Do I just need 5? What does financially free mean? We go back to spending time with the family. A lot of people say, I just want to spend more time with my family. And I said, well, if we can give you time back and you had the money to do that, what would you do with the time? I don't know, is a very common response. If you don't know what you're going to do with the time and you're not emotionally invested in spending quality time with your family, you're not going to make the desired change. You got to get really clear on what that time will mean. One of the ones I really have to grin at is, I will do it tomorrow. And the funny thing is, tomorrow never comes, because when you say, I will do it tomorrow, you're telling the subconscious mind, I'll do it tomorrow. Well, when tomorrow comes, you're telling the subconscious mind, I'll do it tomorrow, and it never happens. Take tomorrow out of your vocabulary. Set a date. I'm going to do it by April 15th or September 15th. But don't say tomorrow. It just doesn't work. I know a number of people who are unhappy in the job they're at. They want a new job, but they don't know how to begin. They don't know what kind of job they want. They don't know how much money they want to make. They don't even know what type of job. Clarity is huge. When you set the mind loose with clarity and emotional investment in what you're trying to achieve, it is amazing how the universe will conspire to help you be successful. And lastly, one of the things I hear is, I want to start a business. I want to get out of this job. I'm tired of working for somebody else. When I ask them what kind of business they want to start, by when, doing what, they can't answer that. They're so stuck in what they don't want that they haven't transitioned into what they do want. Always focus on what you're trying to achieve, because the universe, as I mentioned, will conspire to help you achieve that. Now, here's some action steps I really want you to consider. The first one is, do you have goals? If not, why not? Think about that for a minute. The mind loves to be given directions and shown where to go. So when you go to sleep at night, you think about your goals. At night, it's working on ways to make you successful. If you set goals and you don't achieve your goals, why is that? Are your goals too high? Are they not clear enough? Are they not specific enough? Are they not time-bound? Or are they unrealistic? Try to understand what it is that you're doing if you set goals but you don't achieve them. Do you know what goals you want to achieve? What is it you're really passionate about? So one of the things that I like to do is, when somebody has a goal, a financial goal, for example, of say a $2 million sales goal, I ask them how much money you'll make and what will you do with that money? And I get them really invested into whether or not they're going to buy a house, a car. One of my clients really wanted a new kitchen, and she worked really, really hard when she got to get the kitchen. And when she got it, it was kind of a letdown for her. But what she realized is, having that focus, that purpose of working really hard for something you really want, really motivated her to do things that she didn't think she would normally do. So it's not the goal that's so important. It is the outcome that you will experience when you achieve that goal. So if you want financial security and you define that, say, as $50,000 a month, whatever that number is, what are you going to do with that money? How is your life going to be different once you achieve financial security? Focus on that, because that's where the energy comes from. That's where the fuel comes from. That's where the passion comes from. Next, what are the barriers holding you back? I don't have enough time. I don't know where to start. I'm surrounding myself with the wrong people. I'm afraid. I'm comfortable. There's all kinds of barriers that we have to deal with. My wife won't let me. She won't like it. My boss will be unhappy with me. Whatever barriers you're dealing with, identify them, and then create a plan to get around them, solve them, go through them, under them, or around them. A barrier is nothing more than the universe telling you that, let's earn this. Let's make it valuable to you. Again, put a plan in place on how you're going to overcome those specific barriers. In our next lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about why we need goals. And this is one of my most favorite modules, because a little clue is that achieving the goal is worthwhile, but becoming the kind of person needed to achieve the goal is where the real value is. See you in the next module.